Just letting everyone know we record these and we put them on YouTube.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome. Let's see, we have 10 participants. Thanks everybody for joining. Maybe we'll just wait one more minute.
I'll let everyone come in.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Hi. No problem. I guess maybe that's it. We have Madeline and Lauren that have joined us.
Yeah, I think we have some more people who signed up, but we can let them infiltrate slowly.
Okay. All right, so welcome everybody to the Long Island Organics Council bi-monthly meeting today. We do these meetings every 2 months or so, roughly, to have, updates and speakers on what's happening on organics and composting on Long Island. So today, we're just going to have some, welcoming remarks, and we can introduce ourselves on the chat. We're going to spotlight today a new project in East Hampton. Gloria Frazee is going to speak for us. Then we'll have a Q&A session. We can ask her all kinds of questions, and we have other updates going on as well. And some member updates if anyone wants to add anything else about exciting news that they may have that they want to share. And we'll try to close by, 8 o'clock. So please introduce yourself. You can put your name and contact information or anything you'd like to share about your interest in composting and organics in the chat. I see Mark already started. And then just by way of introduction of the steering committee, you can see most of us here already. We have Judy Greco and Francesca Greco, the sisters Greco, myself, Beth Pateni, Meghna Jain, she's not able to join us today. And Mark Haubner is our newest addition, so we stuck his photo in there on the slide. But welcome, Mark, to the steering committee.
And a fine photo it is.
We took that the day we went to see Ed Romaine, I remember.
Yeah, the NFPC plaque was right next to my head.
Yep, exactly. So, we just all joined together to get this organization going. We started it for anyone that hasn't joined us before. We joined it. We came together a few years ago. We had all sort of come together at the same point meeting through the New York State Organics Council. And they kind of helped to form us and, gather us together. And we started, I think it was late 2020. So our mission is, as you can see there, to build a strong network across Long Island committed to the sustainable management of non-edible organic materials through all scales of composting and anaerobic digestion where it's appropriate, and especially the beneficial use of compost. I see everybody's in the chat. So great. So I'll introduce Gloria. Very happy to have her here today. So Gloria is an avid outdoors enthusiast. She transitioned from teaching science at a camp to a career in wine education and brand management. And then after a stint in high-tech manufacturing and earning an MBA, she relocated to East Hampton. There, she immersed herself in environmental initiatives, founding East Hampton Compost, tackling waste management, recycling, and plastics issues. As a retired professional, Gloria dedicates her time to volunteering, contributing to ReWild Long Island, and co-founding the South Fork chapter including a summer environmental internship program for high school students. And she talks also about how she has rewilded her own yard. So maybe she can tell us about that as well. So welcome, Gloria. I'll
Thank
stop
you so
sharing
much.
so you can share
I
your
should share my screen now. Great.
Yep.
Okay, there's that. And let's go to there. Does that look good?
Looks great.
Super.
Yeah.
The rewilding isn't going as well quite as East Hampton Community Food Scrap Drop-Off Program. That Pachysandra is tenacious, as is the English ivy. But I'm working on killing the lawn and we're smothering my lawn and killing all of those invasives. So I'm much better talking about community food scrap drop-off programs. Super. Quickly, why compost? I wanted to take this global and national issue and discuss it in terms of what happens locally. So here's the national issue. And what are the local costs? If we look at $1,850 worth of food trash per household annually, multiply that by 11,000 households in East Hampton, that's over $20 million of food thrown out every single year just in our town. Plus, there's a lot of non-recyclable stuff that happens here. And basically, our food scraps then go into, when they're trashed, they go into the non-recyclable bag and they are then incinerated and carted off to the incinerators. And it's also then the management, all of the finances that go into operating the dump. So this is just a huge amount of money that we spend each year. Local impacts, as I said, our food scraps are incinerated. We've got trash trucks going up and down our streets. And according to the town of East Hampton CARP, by the 2060s, 2070s, this is what East Hampton could look like. It could be, or it could be an archipelago of islands. So the highlighted areas are the areas that are above water. So it's incredibly important. What are local solutions? Reduce, reuse, recycle. Obviously, composting is in the recycling realm. We're also going to be working into the reduced and reused realm with East Hampton Compost. And basically, we're pitching it as transforming food scraps into soil food. And these are pictures from the local high school and also from the food scrap sorting area. So we've always got, how do you grab people into this and how do you make it part of their kitchen table story? So at the drop-off table, we even had a sign like this that said, ask us about the potato. So a lot of people ask us about the potato because it's what? So we talked about it in terms of the path of the potato, and you have a choice in playing a role in the path of the potato. Why the potato? The Hamptons are known for growing potatoes. So it was definitely a local issue. So we've got our, you have the choice here, you're peeling your potato scraps and making, oh, sorry. So you've got your delicious potato here, and who doesn't love a great potato? When you're making them, you're peeling your potato scraps, and you have the option to either turn them into compost, oops, or they get shipped off to an incinerator and then or to a landfill. From here in East Hampton, they do go to an incinerator. So you can have the choice to make it into your potato scraps into soil food. So keep all of those nutrients that the potato pulls from the soil and transmits to people in our own town. So you go from potato scraps to compost and soil food, which goes back into growing more nutritious potatoes. which are actually fertilized by local bumblebees or native bumblebees as opposed to honeybees. A lot of people don't know that. And then the revitalized soils also help our native bumblebees. And then we start the cycle again with delicious potatoes on our table. How did the food scrap drop-off program work? We had 2 tables collecting farmers market Saturdays, one in the Springs and one in Sag Harbor. Our main location was in the Springs. We had great high school volunteers because the food scrap program itself is a collaboration between ReWild Long Island, the East End chapter, where the high school students were part of the summer program, and they contributed this summer about 450 hours of community service through the various parts of the summer program. So here's actually a friend dropping off her compostable food scraps. And then we sorted the food scraps after we had weighed them. And then this is a picture from the East Hampton town dump where we had our own compost pile. And that's one of our student volunteers showing off our pile. And we kept the pile separate because we are still looking at how everything breaks down. Can we continue accepting these same materials that we're accepting now? What are those materials? Accepted items. So we, thanks to Mark Haubner and Mary Morgan and Kate Rogers here in the town board, and Ian Calder Piedmont at Balsam Farms, and a whole bunch of other people, we actually spent a lot of time looking at how this program should work best for the town of East Hampton. What can we accept? And we looked at what is the narrowest definition of everything that we can accept that would be accepted as we work towards perhaps also composting at local farms and in backyards. So we really looked at what works in a backyard compost area. So this was the overall list of accepted items. And actually we disseminated a whole sheet that talked about accepted, not accepted. And on the back, we also had a website. I guess I'm a little out of order here. We really looked at the concept of transforming food scraps into soil food. So there was an obvious benefit to individuals and combining native plants, which is very much focus of ReWild Long Island. On the back of the previous what's accepted, not accepted page were storage tips. Composting in the summertime is really interesting because it's warm out and a lot of people for some reason don't keep their compostables in the refrigerator, or some of it was really gruesome. And when it comes to containers, we did not give out the lovely little plastic containers because it seemed as though, okay, most people already have containers at home that they can use. And we actually had a survey ahead of the composting program starting where I asked people, do you have a compost bin already or something you can use at home? Do you think you can get something if you don't have something at home? Or are you less likely to participate if we don't supply you with a compost bin? And only one person answered they were less likely to participate if we didn't give them a compost bin. And I also figured, okay, if they can't come up with a compost bin, they maybe aren't dedicated enough to, in fact, do the amount of checking and care that needs to go into collecting clean compostables to begin with. So I just figured, okay, that person was not my target audience. Keep it cool was really important. We got the best suggestion from one of our young composters, little Mina, who was about 6 years old, came up with the idea of using the family ice chest during the week because their compost didn't all fit into the refrigerator. So they just had some ice in their ice chest, and that kept it cool over the summer, as opposed to some of the pretty nasty, already rotting stuff that we got. Also developed a one-pager so people would understand quickly in a single page why compost, what can they compost, why it's important, and there are QR codes everywhere, as well as the URL and an email. I also made printed out just on a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, a little business card handout, so I could easily hand out information so people could take it home if they happen to be in an area such as Springs, which has terrible cell reception, so they could easily get the information at home. And as part of this, we also reached out to a lot of press and got great press coverage, from which a lot of people learned about the program itself. So the pilot itself, was it successful? Weekly drop-off amounts grew. Week 1 was 56.25 pounds. By week 4, we were at 329 pounds. These are some of the people dropping off their compostables, and you can see the different types of containers that they brought their compostables in. By week 8, we were up to 425 pounds, so you can see a steady progression, and it kept growing. And we ended up with a total over 12 weeks of 2,782 pounds. And all along the way, the high school students made great charts so that we could display right at the drop-off table where we were. So yes, by this week, we had more than a ton of compost, and it was just really fun. You'll see here on the table, we actually have a scale. So we measured we weighed all of the compost that came in, and we sorted everything. We also had a couple of little mini pilots. In addition to having residents drop off, we did a dinner at the Surf Lodge in Montauk, where at one of the dinners, they trained their staff, and they made these signs and collected food scraps. And you can see it was in English and Spanish. We also collected food scraps at the Sag Harbor Farmers Market. And we also collected from a florist. They put together a really huge party, and there you go. Okay, learning curve. There was a huge learning curve. This was at the beginning of the season. On the left, you can see rubber bands, plastic bottle caps, lots and lots of plastic labels. Plastic was the #1 contaminant of all sizes, and those gosh darn plastic produce labels. Oh, a whole bag of chocolate, burnt toast, no. Rice, no. There was a lot of sorting. Fruit pits were not allowed, and by the end, we were doing pretty well here. Okay, what was the carbon offset we achieved? 1.18 tons of CO2e, and that was the equivalent of about over 3,000 miles driven in a passenger car. What was really important here was building community, building connection. We really started working with teamwork across organizations. So we worked closely with the East Hampton Town Board and board members, with the people who worked at East Hampton Sanitation, which run the recycling center. So there was Steve Lynch, the Energy and Sustainability Committee, on which I happen to be secretary, ReWild Long Island, farmers and businesses. So we worked closely with Balsam Farms and Ian Calder, Piedmont. And he also were the East Hampton High School students who were mobilized initially by their environmental club and their garden club. And these are the two teachers who are part of those. So it really, really took a lot of people, a great community, a great team. Oops. Come on. We had a couple of great organizers. Here's Mary and Eddie who ran Sag Harbor, bringing a compost bin to the dump in her Tesla. This is Craig Frick, who managed the piles at the town dump. And this is me sorting. This was the drop off I had gotten from Surf Lodge, so I got to sort this myself in my driveway. And we collected food scraps in whatever people brought, put them into these little plastic containers that I had extra kitty litter boxes from my cats. They didn't mind that I borrowed them. And we put everything into these larger tote bins to take to the recycling center. The participants, hugely important part of the community. We had people of all ages, all backgrounds, and we even had puppies come and check us out. So people really made a fabulous day of it. So they incorporated dropping off the food scraps as part of their trip to the farmers market. And we chatted and talked. And honestly, I was really sad when the summer pilot ended, because we all got to know each other. It was really amazing and really fabulous. And that one-on-one conversation was just so important. And right while the people were there, we checked the food scraps and gave immediate feedback. So we ended up with really clean compost. People after about 6 weeks got a perfect participation potato if they were there every single week. So these were some of the people showing off their perfect potato. And the community support was really fabulous. Some people had never tried composting before, and they realized that they cut way down on the amount of trash they needed to haul to the recycling center. A lot of people wanted to see this again happening next year. A lot of people really embraced the environmental aspects of it. And I like that Maura said, it's just the right thing to do. At the end, our own compost wasn't ready, but I got some ready-made compost that was part of the process at the East Hampton Recycling Center. And these were some of the people getting compost. And you can see some of the, these were some of the students who participated. So it really was, we really demonstrated the full cycle here. What were the key factors in the success? Community participation, a large amount collected, much larger than folks had thought we would do. We reduced the contamination rate throughout the summer. We reduced our greenhouse gas emissions, and there was great community support. So now we're looking to forward to 2024. The recommendations we had were to expand the program to additional days of the week, additional locations, so that the entire program is more accessible. We want to extend the education component to schools, to home composting. We actually had a number of home composters come by and ask questions. And that picture of radishes is to remind me to say, at the farmers market, we also had a chop your top initiative. So we walked around and talked with a lot of people, and we also nabbed them as they were leaving some of the booths to say, we'd like to chop your tops off. and just talk with them about, okay, when you buy radishes or carrots or something, if you're not going to be using the tops, you want to chop them off immediately, because once these vegetables are harvested, those greens are really just pulling moisture from the vegetable itself. So you want to chop them off as quickly as possible. And if you want to come over to our table, we will chop your tops for you. And then obviously what we want to get into is moving up the scale and talking about reducing food waste and plastics so that we can increase our impact. How do we grow? We really need more volunteers. We're looking at more partnerships. We're looking at getting some more funding. And it really takes fabulous partners like ReWild Long Island, like the town of East Hampton, like the Long Island Organics Council to make all of this happen. And we hope you will join us. And that's so easthamptoncompost.org and also easthamptoncompost@gmail.com is my email. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much, Gloria.
Any questions?
Thank you. That was amazing.
Yes, now time for a Q&A. So
Yeah,
and
it was really exciting. It was so much work. It was a lot of work. But it was really fabulous. Yes, a question from Lauren.
Hi there. First of all, I want to be you when I grow up, and I'm trying very hard to start a program out here in Merrick, so I need to get all the facts. My question actually is where East Hampton incinerates their garbage.
Yes, that's a good question. It actually goes to a few different locations, is my understanding.
Okay,
There's
thank
a
you.
few incinerators on Long Island, so it probably is either, is it in Huntington or Hempstead, most likely.
Okay,
We'd
Yeah.
love to help
Huntington,
you.
Hempstead, Islip, and Brookhaven, yeah.
You don't have to start from scratch. We'll help you.
excellent, please.
Yeah, pop me an email,
Okay.
easthamptoncompost@gmail.com, which is also
Great.
on the website. And I'm happy to share all of the materials I developed.
Excellent.
Yeah.
East Hampton Compost I'm sorry.
easthamptoncompost@gmail.com.
Very good. Okay, great.
and we can help you with whatever resources you need as well, Lauren.
Well, thank you so much. I came to the right meeting.
Yeah.
And the
Oh, and I
two-
see Karen DeFranzo, who is actually the garden club teacher at East Hampton High School. Yay!
Let's see, I can-
She's amazing. Any more questions? Well, if anyone does come up with questions, pop me an email. You've got my email, and you can also find it on easthamptoncompost.org. Thank you.
I just wanted to say I thought it was so cool that you were able to talk to people one-on-one, because we had done one-on-one interactions at a farmer's market in Riverhead, and we found that was like people didn't even know the program existed, but that was separate from where we were actually composting. So it was great to pair that with the farmer's market, because people are already selling produce and whatnot. So that's wonderful.
Yep. And I actually gave out our business cards to various booths who are selling produce that might have compostables. So that was really helpful in spreading the word. And we were at a great location within the farmers market. We were there for quite a while. And with the high school students staffing the booth, they or I, at some point, everyone was able to go out into the farmers market, nab people as they were carrying their bags of produce around, and introduce yourself and start a conversation, because it really is a lot about outreach and education, and that one-on-one is really the best way to do it.
And the town of East Hampton is interested in doing it again next year.
Oh yes. Yep.
Good. We'll
So we're
push to
looking at
expand
a
it.
couple of additional locations, additional dates. I am starting to look for more volunteers now, and I've just gotten 2 people yesterday who said they were interested in volunteering. So it doesn't take a lot of people, but we want to also be out in Montauk would be great. So Montauk, East Hampton, Sag Harbor, Bridgehampton would be great too. And also, in addition to farmers markets, we'd really like to get to, you say, outside of Stop and Shop. So how do we get more communities who maybe don't go to farmers markets? How can we translate more of our materials into Spanish? So it's just really, really, really important.
We can help translate too. We have 3 Spanish speakers, or at least 2 of us.
Great. And Karen DeFranco's students at the high school are also super helpful in translating into Spanish too. Oh, and I also had an ESL teacher come by, and I happened to have some pamphlets in English and in Spanish. And she took a whole bunch saying, I can use these in my classes. So,
wow.
yeah.
Nice.
People definitely want and need those resources, so that's awesome.
That's
Great.
amazing, Gloria. Wow.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I can
Um,
attest to Gloria, all those smiling faces in your presentation. I was at the farmer's market helping Mary and Eddie, one of the last markets in Sag Harbor. And they had a little table, but people just came with their bags of produce and smiles on their face, no camera necessary. They loved it. Really, people were so happy to be part of this pilot.
Great.
So right now there's no drop-off sites currently, right, for the winter?
Right. I have been scrambling to figure out, okay, how do I extend this right now on the fly over the winter, because a lot of people wanted to keep it going year round. But I was a little relieved when the town board said this was the length of the pilot. It's a good time to review, regroup, and come back bigger next year. So I'll take that with a sigh of relief.
Yeah, winter's brutal.
A lot of work.
Out there at those tabling events. But that'll be good to have a bigger and better program for next year. Definitely.
So,
Great.
Thank you.
Judy, I think you have the slides, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me get it up. Thanks again, Gloria. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so some updates for everyone. One of our members, Megna of the steering committee, she can't be on the call today, but her daughter, Riddy Jane, and friend Emily Sue, they started a backyard composting program in Syosset High School, which is a huge deal because I know we have a lot of movement over on the east end of Long Island, but not enough is happening in the westmost part of Long Island. So this was a really great project that they carried out. As you can see, about 50 families enrolled. So most of them were Syosset homeowners. We don't have it pictured here, but they used a backyard composting bin, and the manufacturer actually
Earth composter, I think it's called, and she got a discount on it, which was great.
Yeah, the manufacturer very kindly gave the students a discount to give to all the people involved in the program. So they got them in bulk and then had all the people register. And then, yeah, it was a great turnout, and the school was so excited by it. And so was the town. So the town of Oyster Bay recognized the teens for improving community's welfare. They had an article about it, which we sent out in the newsletter. And the students plan to present data to the town at the end of the year, and the town may even expand the program, which is very exciting. Congratulations to those students. And this is a great, little sneak preview at the future LIOC presentation. We're going to have them speak in our January presentation. The date is TBA, but they'll talk a little bit more about what they did and how. But the next update is the East End Countertop Recycler pilot, led by Mary Morgan. So Mary, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, well, you just heard from Gloria, the amazing and impressive pilot going on in East Hampton that I'm wanting to replicate in Southall. It's the gold standard, Gloria. You're the gold standard of pilots, everything from the high school kids to the farmers markets to the website. It's amazing what you did. We're looking for many ways for people to sort of offer a menu to our communities, for ways for people to divert their food scraps from the waste stream and instead make it into something positive and good. I love that phrase about soil food. That's fantastic. The East End Countertop pilot is still going on until December 31st. It is a countertop recycler that makes, you can see that little picture there on the bottom, a dry soil amendment. So there's, it's an appliance. It uses about as much electricity as a computer. You put your food scraps in it. We put our food scraps in at night, press the button, and it in the morning there's this dry, odorless tea leaves, about 1/4 of a cup, which my husband keeps in a bucket in the basement because he wants to mix it with our garden soil in the spring. But you could also throw it into your compost or drop it off with your leaves, at town leaf areas. And also we have several farms who have a drop off. We'll take it with their compost. So it's just a little update that we have 35 participants so far. It's still open to join. And what you can go to, I'll put it in the chat. You can go to the Long Island Organics Council website to learn more about it. Or there's that QR code right there. You're seeing a picture of, there's 2 appliances available. This one is a little larger. It's good for a family of 4. So they're very quiet. What people in the pilot are telling me, they absolutely love it. Awesome appliance. No waste, no smell, no methane. That's my favorite, one of my favorite comments. So that's my update. Happy to answer any questions later.
Great. Thank you, Mary, for that update. And another amazing pilot happening in the East End. We keep diverting those food scraps, and it's gonna all add up, which is great.
Thank you.
Oops. Next, so yesterday actually, our team did a presentation to the 4th graders at Riley School. Beth and Francesca were there, so they can
Yeah, I'd love to talk more about it. So I just am thinking back to the 2 girls at Syosset High School. I just wanted to say it just takes 2 people to put in a program like this. And they're high schoolers, they're still kids, but think of this group of children we talked to at the Riley School. It was about 100 4th graders, really bright, beautiful minds, and they were all really listening in so intently. They had amazing questions. And, they were really interested in composting. They were really interested in the processes that are going on with this too. The bugs, they were like, oh my gosh, how many different bugs and animals contribute to this system. Like, I was so surprised by their interest and their passion about the subject. So it was wonderful. And I'm thinking, at least some of these kids one day, they're a future, and maybe 2 of them or 100, all 100 of them will want to make a program like this somewhere in their lives, or, contribute to a better world and better systems. So it was a wonderful presentation. Beth and I had a great time, and, I
Yeah,
look forward to
Riley.
doing it again in the future.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone wants us to come and speak at another school, we have the slideshow ready to go. So just let us know. And the Riley School is in the town of Riverhead. So in the picture there in the bluish green shirt is Jason. So he works at the town of Riverhead. So he's the guy that kind of oversees the program from the town's end and manages the drop, the actual composting site. So it was great to have him there too. And Mark was there. So it was great.
Awesome. Yeah, we
Oh,
would love to
Riley.
do.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, you first.
I forgot to mention the Riley School is composting their own food scraps, kind of secretly, because the Jason actually just took it upon himself on his way from town hall to the drop-off site to just stop by the school and pick up the food scraps. So technically, off the record, the town of Riverhead is collecting the food scraps from the school. Unofficially. So it's fantastic. It's terrific. We started with the Riley
Absolutely.
School and then they added the high school.
And this is a great initiative. And I know even some teachers there were like, can we get a bin in our cafeteria here? We could put it right there. It would be easy. And of course, that would take some more outreach and more orientation for the kids to kind of figure it out. But we actually did an activity showing the kids what can and can't go in the bins at the drop-off site. So we had 2 kids come up and, say, okay, can this go in paper? Yes. Like cartons, can the banana peels and the eggshells go in? Yeah, but the metal can't go in. The plastic definitely can't go in. And they really got the point. And we gave away 2 bins to them, and they were just overjoyed.
Yeah,
All
that is
right,
so
so yeah.
And on that note, our Riverhead project, the food scrap recycle Long Island project, year 1 is coming to an end. That presentation was one of the last things on our goals for the project. Here are the results of said project. As you can see, that's a giant compost pile that is the result of all those participants in the program. Beth, do you remember the number of participants off the top of your head?
I think he said they have 60 or so people registered at this point, but I'm sure
of course,
people must be dropping off.
Yeah, I think there are people who aren't registered as well dropping off, but honestly, registered or not registered, the participation shows, and that's great. And then the numbers, because I'm sure you all want to see the numbers. Yep, and there's our little.
Yep. So to date, Jason has been keeping track of the pounds each time they collect. So they're just about at 12,000 pounds, maybe a little bit more so far. And it started in May. So it's however many months, 7 months or so. And that equates to over 40,000 pounds of carbon dioxide not released into the atmosphere. So really, really exciting.
And I added a little last minute that 4,000 pounds of carbon dioxide is the equivalent of 465,122 miles driven by an average gasoline powered passenger vehicle. So that just, shows it to scale to you how much we are saving by doing these efforts. So.
Wow, that's crazy. Great.
So some
I can
final. Oh yeah, please.
In this part, yeah. Something that we're really interested in is the implementation of the New York State food scrap law, which basically requires that if a large generator that, produces more than 2,000 pounds of food scraps per week, they're supposed to be either composting or if not donating anything edible first, of course. That's the highest use. If not, then if there's anything left, they're supposed to be composting it or sending it to an anaerobic digester. So we were previously under the impression that nobody was really complying with this law because it's supposed to be within 25 miles of one of these facilities that they have to comply with the law. But what we found out was we contacted the DEC, and Sally Rowland sent us the actual data for Long Island. And what we found out is that most of the large generators, like it's grocery stores, theme parks, I forget, all sorts of, like institutions like universities, what they're doing is they're basically shipping it off Long Island. There's about 179 institutions that are supposed to be complying with the law. 126 of them reported on this spreadsheet that she sent us. So we're going to try to find out what the status is on the remainder of them, and possibly, try to track some of them down ourselves. We might try to ask for volunteers to do that. We found a few just interesting notes, like most of the Stop and Shops on Long Island were included on the list, but the one in Huntington Village wasn't. So like, we just need to kind of clarify what's going on there. A couple of businesses requested waivers from the law, just saying that they couldn't do it. It happened to be 2 Red Lobster restaurants. But she did note to us that the law really increased a lot of food donation to charities, which is great. So you can see it's, 8,476 tons of food, mostly to Feeding America, Long Island Cares, and Long Island Harvest. And then I think the next slide, the quantity of food scraps being recycled totaled 28,000 tons for 2022. So soon we'll be getting the data for 2023 at the end of the year. And, I'll probably, try to do some more analysis and share it with this group. But, we were interested to see like who's picking it up, where is it going? So there's a company called Organics with an X. Long Island Compost is also getting some of it. We think that it's probably going to an anaerobic digester in Queens someplace or off Long Island somewhere. So we're going to do some more follow-up and find out more, because we'd still love to encourage composting, composting facilities here on Long Island. But another cool thing was Hofstra University Pantry has its own composting facility on site. So that might be another good example to show other universities that it can be done on site. So maybe we'll try to contact them and do like a little tour or something. I don't know. But their spreadsheet that Sally sent to us had all kinds of data, like what types of food scraps are being composted or recycled. And some of it is fresh food, some of it is processed food. So I'm assuming a lot of it is probably packaged food. And that became an issue for the one recycling facility we had here, composting facility on Long Island. She wasn't really able to take, food that was contaminated with plastic. So just having a hard time to get her food scraps to stay in business. So we're trying to figure it all out. But this was better news than expected. I kind of thought nobody was complying with the law, but they actually are. But it's just kind of defeating the purpose that it's being trucked off Long Island.
Yeah, and we're going to follow up with Sally at the DC as well to investigate further. But this is a good start, at least.
Absolutely.
Next segment, and we're almost done with our presentation, but these are some grant opportunities that are being offered by the EPA. So they just announced, the Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights announced this largest single investment in environmental justice in history, which is kind of a big deal. It's approximately $2 billion in funding for environmental community-driven projects. So what the criteria is deploying clean energy, strengthen climate resilience, and building capacity for communities to tackle environmental and climate justice challenges. So that deadline is November 21st, 2024. So it's a year from now. So there's plenty of time to apply. I do know that there is a more of an advantage or priority list for communities with environmental justice issues. And the next grant would be the Rural Energy for America program. Renewable energy systems and energy efficiency loans and grants are available, and they range from $1,500 to $1 million. So there's a big, wide range there. And that's for improvements made to energy efficiency by agricultural producers and rural small businesses. So that's ongoing quarterly until September 30th, 2024. So again, about a year from now. Then another opportunity, the EPA announced $4.6 billion in climate pollution reduction grants through two different competitions. One is a more general competition, and the other is specifically for tribes and territories. So the general one is more for organizations and municipalities, and there is, as you can see, 4.6 billion across the two, and there's two deadlines. So for the general competition, that's April 1st of 2024, and the one for the tribes and territories is May 1st, 2024. Now, something I was thinking of maybe doing is outreach to the Shinnecock Nation on Long Island, and maybe seeing if we can get them involved somehow on any of these grants, because I know that, that would be, something great we can do for their community. And, that could be one of our next efforts as the Long Island Organics Council. That's something I want to do.
Reservation composting. Wow.
Mm-hmm. There, I feel like a lot of tribes are very connected to the earth. So I feel like this would be a really nice way of creating more of a circular economy there as well, or circular system rather.
That'd be great.
So yeah, maybe that's something we can do next. And then there's a Climate Smart Communities grant, which is ongoing as well until May 3rd. And all of these we'll probably send in the next newsletter, so you can look out for these. Francesca also dropped some of the links in the chat if you want to follow up on any of them and get more information. And that being said, and does anyone have any updates to share, maybe in their community, or even questions for us if you have any? If not,
We definitely want to
feel
hear
free
what's
to
happening in Merrick. Any other communities?
oh yes.
Ask
That was
about-
Lauren and Merrick, right?
Whoops, sorry, that's me. And this all sounds so good, and I'm so impressed with the work that everyone is doing. And I will definitely be in touch.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren.
Yay.
Great to hear from you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being there.
And we're always open to having people volunteer with us. We've gotten some people reaching out to us recently as well. So hopefully you'll see a bigger team on our end very soon. I mean, we have Mark now officially as part of the team, even though we were basically already working with him for the last year with the Riverhead project, but now it's official. Yeah.
Definitely need more volunteers for sure. And we'll try to set up a meeting to do like an orientation of anybody new sometime soon, so you can look for that on our social media, or maybe, we'll probably put it in a newsletter or something.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining us. Our next meeting will be sometime in January, and we'll be talking more about the project in Syosset. But thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Happy holidays,
you.
everybody.
Happy holidays. Take
Good
care.
to see you all. Thank you very much. Hi, Mary. Love you. Talk to
Thank you.
Hi, Kate.
Thank you. Long Island Organics Council. It was great. Gloria, my goodness. Yes. Thank you.
That was really cool.
Thank you,
That's
Katie.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gloria. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks again, Gloria.
Thank you.
Oh, and Kate Plum is here too, and she also helped with
Oh, no,
the
you know,
planning
yeah,
and
well,
how
no,
this
no,
all is
don't
going
be-
to work.
Yeah, please, no. Gloria, you did the bulk, let's face it. Come
She's
on, you did
amazing.
everything. The heavy lifting you did, yes, completely. The design in the beginning, the whole thing, like, you're amazing.
From
what's
wine to
happening.
compost.
And you got your hands dirty too, to boot. It wasn't just a
Oh, yeah.
braiding part of it. It was the whole thing. So impressed going through
Yeah.
people's plastics. It's great. You're amazing. So glad. Look forward to next year. Bye all.
Great.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all.
And we can stop recording now, I think, right?